Hello everyone. It's been a year and a half since I published out my Chessable course, Butcher the Sicilian. It became, I surely can say, one of the famous things against the Sicilian lately. And it had so many improvements, but also so many good players applied it with the white pieces with lots of success. Speaking of myself, I have to say that I played 11 tournament games with, believe it or not, 8 wins, 2 draws. And the very first game that I played in this opening, I lost against an IM, but I was completely winning. So it makes it very strong, like almost 80% with the white pieces, actually, in tournament chess. In blitz chess, I just checked it, and I just checked my stats. It's almost 75%. That makes it so strong, but I'm very proud because I'm about to show you a great game, miniature, and even improved Butcher the Sicilian thing by who else but strongest player in the history of chess, Magnus Carlsen. So the game happened in an Air Things Masters preliminary against Duda. It was a rapid game, so it wasn't a blitz game. It was a rapid game. It was very important. Last game where Carlsen had to win that game, and look what happened. Carlsen opted for Butcher the Sicilian, and he began that game with e4, c5, knight c3, g6, and played d4. You know that after g6, we just have to play d4, break in the center, and when they, of course, capture, you just play queen takes d4. Don't forget, in the course, I said if they play bishop g7, you should be going, instead of d takes c4 that goes into the sniper variation, you shouldn't go for that, but I said play d5, which is way easier, and when you play d5, this is nothing else but semi-Benoni. Then I gave you the game Cheparinov against Carlsen, where Carlsen had white, a model game how to play that with white pieces, as well as Smyslov, how he crushed Schmidt. And there is also one more game of Nigel Short against Adianto. Those are 3 model games in order to learn how to treat these d5 systems. In this game, Duda Jan Krzysztof opted for c takes d4, Magnus captured, and knight f6. And I have to stop, because when I made the course, Butcher the Sicilian, there were only like 5, 6, maximum 7 games that were played with the bishop e3 system. I just decided to work it out a little bit more, to make some very special analysis on that, and there we go. Magnus, a year and a half after the course has released, he used it in his own game. The point of this move is that when they play knight c6, queen d2, you just go with f3, long castle, and knight g on e2. So if they play bishop g7, f3, castles, long castles, d6, and I spent quite a big amount of time making a comment. What is the advantage of knight being on e2 in comparison to typical dragon where the knight is on d4? Well, very big advantage. In the main line of the dragon, black can just go with d5. When the knight is on d2, they cannot go with that. Second thing, they can always play knight takes d4, bishop d4, and go with the light square bishop on e6. Here they cannot do it, because any bishop e6 you can oppose with knight f4. Then the third thing is that they can never play a line with any bishop d7, because you just go h4, and when they go queen a5, you just go with the knight f4 and support the idea of h5. And finally, those who play h5, you just support the break on the king side with knight f4, break with g4, and then you have a very promising attack on the king side. But believe it or not, in this game, Carlsen decided to improve Butcher the Sicilian, and I love it so much. After d6, he played f3, of course. By the way, if they go with knight g4 here, it makes no difference because he just played bishop f4. Duda played d6 and Magnus played f3, bishop g7. And when I watched the game live, because if you remember, Eric Hansen beat Carlsen in that tournament, that's why Carlsen had to win this game. Carlsen played knight g2. I said, okay, probably it makes no difference for him if he plays long castles first or knight g2. So Magnus played knight g2. Duda played bishop e6, and I said, it's nice. Even these top guys are not familiar with the main ideas because he just has to play knight f4, what he did. And after castles, he might take it, play long castle, or he might take it and play bishop c4, which was my suggestion in the course. And that gives white relatively easy game, a bit win slightly and much better. According to the engines, it's between 0.6 and 0.9. But now Magnus came up with h4, a beautiful move where he goes with knight a4 and h4 straight away instead of making long castle and, let's just say, wasting time. No, he just goes with this attack immediately, and look what happened in this game. Black went for knight e5 and Magnus immediately played h5. You can never play anything but bishop c4, and that was kind of shocking for me because I know how satisfied I was whenever black gives up that bishop on e6, bishop pair, and creates like double pawns to take on e6 and just to play bishop c4. But just like you see, Magnus wasn't quite satisfied with that idea. He wants even more. And look what happened in the game. Captured on g6. And just when I thought like, this looks kind of tricky because he wants to force him to take on f1 and to afterwards play knight c4, in which case white would be without the battery and the dark square bishop, and without the dark square bishop you have no more attack. But Magnus played a fantastic retreating move where the knight came back to d3. He stops bishop f1 for the time being and opens up the battery and threat with bishop h6. Amazing. Duda realizes how difficult is that, and he plays bishop e6 to go with knight c4. But just like you see, Duda he's a world rapid champion, and this is a rapid game. So in that game, we can simply say that Magnus Carlsen, the best in the history, playing currently one of the best rapid players in the world. But just like you see, he was, like shuffling around with his pieces, and he didn't know the plan, and he didn't know how to create this butcher, the Sicilian thing. Magnus played bishop h6. He just wants to take and deliver checkmate with the queen h6. And Duda plays knight h5 like, I'm gonna cover bishop takes g7 followed by queen h6. And look what happens. It's Magnus' turn. You can just pause the video and try to find the tactics. Magnus captured on g7. And Magnus made a magnificent tactical shot. Rook takes h5. He's removing the defender in order to come with his queen on g5. Duda captured. But Magnus couldn't immediately come with the queen g5 because knight g6 would be enough of defense. He first removes the defender and plays knight takes e5. After Duda captured d takes e5, Magnus played queen g5, king h7, queen h5 check, and after king g8, this is what usually happens in such miniatures and beautiful games. Magnus just played bishop d3. Guys, believe it or not, 20 moves against the current world rapid champion. And world rapid champion just resigned. Why? Because he used butcher the Sicilian. So look at this one. If this one, queen g6, king e2, and just use the rook and checkmate him. If anything else, he can't stop long castles, queen g5, and rook h1 with checkmate. Beautiful win by Magnus. Great game, and what I like a lot, he applied that system in my analysis, but in even way better fashion. He just came up with the knight g2, h4, knight f4 without long castle. I enjoyed this game. Hope you as well. And let's just hope for more of these things from the course. Thanks so much and hope you enjoyed this great miniature. Bye-bye.